When a person sits down to watch a documentary, often they are influenced into perceiving the content in a particular way without giving much thought to the elements that are coercing them into doing so. Audiences feel and think in very particular ways, usually unaware that the filmmaker has purposefully utilised documentary features in order for them to feel like this. These statements make up the basis of today's presentation. Hi everyone, my name is Mannion and welcome to my Approaches to Contemporary Documentary recorded presentation. As briefly mentioned, today I'll be delving into how documentaries exploit specific features such as mode, content and style in order to manipulate the overall impression of the piece and to elicit specific responses from audiences. Also, the intertwining relationship between the elements of mode, content and the filmmaker's individual style will be explored to examine how each component interacts and impacts the others. Before we get started though, it is important to grasp what documentary is, what it encapsulates, and what it seeks to achieve. According to Alfderheide, a documentary is not real life, rather a movie about real life. While similar in the fact that documentaries often attempt to tell a story or to entertain, they differ from traditional films in their endeavour to also provide knowledge, insight, or to confront audiences. Nichols goes on to elaborate by saying that documentary allows the world to find considerable comparisons between what they see on their screen and what they're able to experience in real life, providing a solid basis for belief in the message. However, Nichols also expressed that documentary is often concerned with the attempt to influence opinion by putting specific viewpoints forward. Additionally, Brazzi has gone on to claim that modern documentary, while still based on truth, has a more prevalent focus of attention on the narrative and the performativity involved within the piece. Now a bit of insight about documentary has been provided. The short documentary that has been selected for analysis is entitled 10 Metre Tower by Maximilian van Eertreek and Axel Danielson. The 16-minute film, created in 2016, follows a group of individuals and groups as they stand at the top of a 10-metre high diving platform for the very first time. Viewers watch these people stand in a vulnerable position as they weigh up whether to overcome their fear and take the plunge or to turn away and accept the humiliation of climbing back down. Documentaries can choose to exploit one or more of the 6 types of documentary modes, these being observational, poetic, participatory, performative, expository, or reflexive. Speaking specifically about 10 Metre Tower, however, this short film predominantly uses the observational mode of documentary. The observational mode is often likened to direct cinema and is characterised by a fly-on-the-wall type approach, meaning there is no involvement from the filmmaker in the piece, rather a sole focus on the participants or subjects. The observational mode, which lacks the presence of a voiceover as well, allows audiences to get an intimate and exposed look at the lives of the participants involved as it unfolds in real time. This approach makes the unfolding events seem raw and authentic to viewers, as participants are able to behave naturally without interference or encouragement from a third party. In this case, this makes the fear and the hesitation of the people at the top of the 10-metre platform seem completely believable, leading to feelings of empathy from viewers as we watch their plight. Although the dominant mode observed in 10 Metre Tower is observational, the short documentary becomes multimodal through the embedding of elements of the poetic mode as well. The poetic mode elements that are apparent within the film is the lack of audio but an emphasis on the visual instead and the expressiveness of genuine emotion. As well as this, the poetic mode can be applied to 10 Metre Tower through the film's allowance for viewer contemplation, reflection and speculation about meaning. While some viewers may gather that the film is about overcoming fear, others may conclude that the power of self-determination is the more important message, or others may think that the goal of the film is simply to exhibit humans in their instinctive state of fear. This opportunity for subjective views is what aligns 10 Metre Tower with the poetic mode, in addition to the prevailing observational mode. Within 10 Metre Tower, there is a host of specific moments that not only align with both the observational and the poetic modes of documentary, but that have a significant impact on the overall impression of the documentary and viewer response. Each person has their own struggles as they internally debate whether to take the leap of faith or to withdraw to the safety of the latter. An example of the observational mode being exploited is when viewers watch an elderly lady stand at the edge of the board as she exclaims, "No, I don't have the guts," before turning around to the ladder. Mounting the ladder and taking a couple of steps down, the lady stops in contemplation for a few moments before stepping back up onto the board. After a few deep breaths and composing herself, the lady quietly and swiftly steps off the board into the water 10 metres below her. No intervention from the filmmaker, no assistance from onlookers. Viewers watch this individual make the decision entirely herself to make the jump in her own time. This allows audiences to feel attached to the woman and her journey towards her brave feat, as we get to watch the entirety of the event unfold exactly how it happened. Not every person made the leap, however, and 10 Metre Tower includes a man who succumbed to his fear and opted to take the ladder down instead. The man is observed receiving encouragement from a friend, saying expletives, and shaking his head as he weighs up his options. By displaying both people who do and do not take the leap, it becomes cohesive with the essence of documentary by expressing truth, not romanticising that this is a task that is easy enough to be completed by anyone. Van Eertryk and Danielson used their own individual style to accentuate the content in the documentary. Firstly, most of the footage captures only the diving board and the people standing there, again aligning with the poetic mode by placing more of a significant emphasis on the visual rather than audible aspects of the film. This use of camera shot creates the effect of individuals being alone with them thoughts or with a loved one and having to make a tough decision for themselves in isolation. Another personal decision made by the filmmakers was to have cameras and microphones visible at all times on the diving board. This was a conscious decision to represent awareness that this is a planned event, but also to convey to audiences that although the individuals are aware they're being filmed, their emotions are too strong to suppress for the cameras, hence creating an effect of real, unfiltered fear. At various points throughout the film, the use of split-screen camera angles is utilised, with one side focusing on the diving board and the other either from an underwater or full pool perspective. By doing this, it creates feelings of suspense for viewers as the expectation of a jump arises. Additionally, there are slow motion videos of people jumping from the board into the water with the sound of running water in the background that are used intermittently throughout the film. The effect that this creates for viewers is a sense of calm as they watch people float seamlessly and weightlessly through the air to the sound of water trickling, showing the task can be completed and also juxtaposing the footage of the individuals on the board hesitant, rigid, and afraid. Unembellished with music, dramatic sound effects, or cutaway scenes, 10 Metre Tower is a simple representation of humans in a vulnerable, frightened state. Through the clever use of mode, content, and style, the filmmakers are able to deliver a piece that provokes thought about underlying meaning and the impact that each of these elements of documentary have on the film as a whole and its impact on audience members. Through using a mixture of the observational and poetic modes of documentary, audiences are able to watch authentic footage in an entertaining way, but have the freedom to decide what they gained most from the film. In summary, I'll leave you with a quote from John Grierson. In documentary, we deal with the actual, and in one sense with the real. But the really real, if I may use that phrase, is something deeper than that. The only reality which counts in the end is the interpretation, which is profound. Thank you for listening.